Welcome. This is Makayla McDonald from Food, Peace, Body, Love. And this is my talk on affirmations, the daily habit of affirmations. So let me first just welcome you. Welcome. And we might have other people joining us throughout the call. So if we get interrupted, that's what it is. I just want to welcome you all. So affirmations are pretty ubiquitous in the self-help and metaphysical world. And a lot of my clients ask about affirmations and how to use tapping and affirmations in conjunction. And so there's lots of ideas about how to do that. And I'm not saying that mine are the only right ones. I just have some specific thoughts that I want to share from the food, peace, body, love perspective, / my perspective. So the first thing I want to cover is I want to get really simple about why affirmations are valuable and how they work. There are lots of thoughts on how they work, and it kind of depends on the belief structure or just the belief that you have about life and how life works and whatnot. But I'd like to dial it back even from belief structures and systems and all of that into just the level of the brain and the body. So our thoughts have an impact on us. That's why they matter. That's why all these thoughts matter at all. They wouldn't matter if they didn't have an impact on us, right? They'd just be, oh, that's just a thought, doesn't matter. So because our thoughts have an impact on us, that's why we want to pay attention to them. And one of the ways that I love to think about affirmations that I think is just so fabulously simple is that you're just practicing a thought. It's just practicing a thought. It's that simple. And the reason that it's valuable to do this is because we are unintentionally practicing thoughts all day long, all the live long day. And many people find as they do some self-inquiry processes, they find that the thoughts that they're thinking, the thoughts that they're practicing on a day-to-day basis aren't really that good feeling. The impact of those thoughts is not beneficial. It's not helping them feel better about life and feel better about themselves. You know, I have the kind of the bias of my work is that I work with people who struggle with emotional eating and with body image and with carrying extra weight on their bodies that doesn't serve them. So a lot of the beliefs that I come across in my practice are about the body and about, and this transfers to other areas, but another core one is that they're unlovable. You know, I'm unlovable because of how I look, because of how I behave, because of my body. So the thing that is evident about thoughts is the impact they have on us, on our bodies, right? On our sensations, maybe, and our emotions as well, right? You may think a thought, I'm not lovable. When I say that out loud, I feel like a tightening in my core and a kind of collapse. I'm not lovable. It even feels harder to breathe. There's kind of a knot developing in my solar plexus area. Now, I do sensation tracking a lot, so I'm modeling to you what I notice. And maybe this is a new practice for you to notice what's going on in your body, but there's that example, right? And maybe yours is different when you think the thought, I'm unlovable. So that's really evident. Now, the other thing that isn't always as evident, that's a little sneakier about the thoughts that we think, is that it starts to shift the filter we have on reality. Because there's this way that our brain works where we develop a cognitive bias, a mental bias that looks for things that confirm what we think and confirm what we believe. I know, that was profound. I'll just pause there while you drink that. I like to be playfully cocky. So If the thought you're thinking is, I'm unlovable, that cognitive bias is going to filter your experience through the lens of, how is that true? Let's find proof. Let's find proof for how that's true, how it's true that you're unlovable, or whatever the thought is, whatever the belief is. So this is where it gets kind of sticky, because this is where reality, objective reality, and your subjective experience start to separate, right? Because the meaning you're making out of the objective reality is shifted to reinforce the belief that you have. Now, some people have the goal of being present with objective reality. Some people feel that that is what will bring them the most peace. I'm one of those people. Now, another perspective that I flirt with, that I have hung out with many times, that I can resonate with, is to shift the filter of your experience of reality so that you are looking for things that reinforce how great life is, how lovable you are. So I can get down with that too. It may not be the objective experience of reality, but it sure does feel better to interpret reality and make meaning out of life that affirms one's worthiness and lovableness and goodness. So, how does this fit into affirmations? Well, if affirmations are thoughts that you're practicing, and if your thoughts impact your experience of reality, and therefore your beliefs about reality, then affirmations become a really cool tool to use to start to shift your experience of reality to one that feels more empowering, and that either puts you more in touch with truth, or just puts you more in touch with an experience that encourages you to show up all the way with your whole heart, to feel good, to have fun, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So that's the value of affirmations. That's how I like to interpret their efficacy. Now, there's law of attractions. There's other things that could be at play. I don't know for sure. What I do trust and know is my direct experience of how affirmations impact me in the moment. I don't know if they're necessarily changing the course of my life or the course of reality, but I do know that they impact me in my day-to-day experience, and that alone is valuable to me. And I can't help but think that as I cruise along, having new cognitive biases, right, that say, wow, you're pretty lovable, Makayla, and life is really great, and it's safe to really enjoy yourself today, and you can trust the process, and whatever else. As I'm cruising along with that, I can't help but imagine that operating from that space of trust, of lovableness, etc., I can't help but think that that's going to change the way I'm showing up and the way that I'm interacting with life. And it's going to put me in different situations. And on a very practical level, it's probably going to help me to say yes to certain things that will reinforce that reality, and say no to things that don't reinforce it. So those are my thoughts on the efficacy. Okay, so now I'd like to talk about my issues with affirmations. I got issues with affirmations. I'm dramatizing, but I have noticed that sometimes people use affirmations and there's actually an incredible amount of pain that needs, in my mind, my bias, in my opinion, there's an incredible amount of pain that needs to be addressed that the affirmations are being used as a band-aid or as a manual correction out of pain and into something else. And that, I've just so rarely seen that be effective. And I found that, especially with the type of people I work with, and even with myself, I've found that shifting to affirmations, shifting to life is great, I'm lovable, everything's fine, when you feel deeply hurt, or you feel strong judgment or strong anger or whatever it may be that's uncomfortable, it actually registers as an invalidation of those feelings, and it starts to harden those feelings, and even can create a bit of a schism, right? That there's this part of you, this pain that's just being suppressed, that's just being ignored, it's still there. And so your affirmations, they can fall flat if there's this dead weight, this schism, if not all of you is on board with the affirmations, that it just gets in the way of them feeling really good, and I think of the power that's possible with affirmations. So this is where I love tapping. There are lots of other tools that you can use to help tend to the pain that is present, that might be undermining your affirmations, or that you might be using affirmations to subjugate and cover up and get rid of. I love this hand, and I'm sorry I'm being so mean to you in this video. I'm just going to cradle it for a little while. Tapping is a great tool. Therapy is a great tool. Somatics, dance, meditation, energy healing. There's so many tools out there. Journaling, a beautiful, loving conversation with a friend. There are lots of tools to practice and to help you honor the pain, so that your affirmation doesn't cover it or mask it, but it actually supports this part that was once hurt and wounded and ignored and neglected to come join us, come along to be here in this place of gratitude, in this place of remembering and affirming how good life is and how loved we are, right? So I want your affirmational practice to be inclusive of pain, inclusive of all the parts of you, right? Yeah. That's all that I want to say about that. So one of the specific ways that I love to create affirmations, it's very simple. And it comes from, lots of modalities use this, but it comes from specifically law of attraction. They use this process of getting clear on what you don't want, and then using that as a jumping off point to get clear on what you do want. So this is also a process you can do to work with inner criticism. And that's actually, I find that the most potent affirmations come out of getting clear on the mean thoughts that you're thinking, or the heavy thoughts, or however you want to define them, the unsupportive thoughts. Getting clear on what those are, attending to those, and then using those as a jumping off point for the new thoughts you'd like to think. So there are two questions I want you to ask yourself while you make this list, your starting off point. This is effectively a list of the things that you don't want in your life, or the things that you don't like in your life. So the two questions to ask yourself. First question is, what don't I like? And if you want to get a little specific, or more specific to a category of your life, it could be like, what don't I like about my body? What don't I like about my relationships? What don't I like about myself? What don't I like about this culture? What don't I like about Money? Did I say that one yet? I don't know. Anyway, so my job. And so you could narrow it a little. I find that to be helpful. And so you could, some examples, like, especially if it's about your body, it could be just parts of your body that you don't like. Let yourself really have permission in this container of this time where you're making this list to just let the judgments out. Let out, what are those thoughts that you're thinking? What are those judgments you're carrying? The things that you don't like, just lay them all out. Be honest, be raw. So that's question number one. Question number two is negative or limiting beliefs that you have about that topic. So maybe it's a belief that you have about life. Maybe it's a belief that you have about relationships. Maybe it's a belief that you have about your body. A very common, very painful belief that a lot of the people that I work with have is, my body betrayed me. And that's a really strong belief, and that's a really painful one. So this can get really raw really fast. So beliefs you have, life is hard, my body betrayed me, it's not easy, weight loss isn't easy, it'll always be a struggle, whatever kind of the beliefs are, things that you're telling yourself that are true about life. And you may, as you're writing them down, be like, God, I'm so dramatic, this can't be true. Or I know I don't actually believe that. But if it pops into your head, write it down. Just write it down for good measure. Be generous with how much you're writing down. So, okay, the next step is once you, and I would be doing this with a group, right? We could do this as a group together here. Or you can just do it on your own. So this could even be a potent exercise to do with a friend or with someone that you feel a lot of trust with. It might feel easier to do it on your own though. Your call. So once you have your list of all the things that you don't like and all the things that you believe about whatever the topic may be, I want you to look at the list. And this is important. This is where we're connecting with the feedback loop. Like I talked about at the very beginning of this call, the whole reason we care about our thoughts is because they impact us. And so this is a moment where I want you to get really honest with yourself about how these thoughts impact you. So read the list. As you're reading it, notice what's going on internally. You may even notice that your posture changes, or there's sensations in your body that start to get kind of stirred up. You might feel heaviness, you might feel tightness, you might feel agitation. Temperatures might shift internally. And so just let yourself really register the impact that this list has on you, on your body. And your body is, in a way, it's your subconscious mind here, right? That larger percentage of who you are, feel how it's being impacted right now. And because I'm a tapper, because that's the tool of choice here, I want us to do some tapping on it. So this is going to be partially guided, but partially kind of do it yourself, because I don't know what your list is. So look at that list, feel whatever you're feeling, and kind of fill in the blanks here. I'm going to leave some blanks and just fill them in as we do some repeat after me. So 3 times we're going to do the turnaround statement, the even though statement. Even though this list makes me feel, I deeply love and accept myself. Even though I feel, when I read this list, I deeply love and accept myself. One more time. Even though this list makes me feel, I choose to love and accept myself. I'm tapping through the other points now, and I want you to just read through your list as you tap through the points. And you can pause the audio if I move on too quickly. You can do a belief or a statement per spot. Good. And once you've tapped through the points, I'd say 2 times. So here we are in round 2. You can stop tapping. Or once you reach the end of your life, stop tapping, take a deep breath. Good. And I want you to look at your list again and notice how you feel now. Sometimes doing a round of tapping actually makes people feel worse because you drop down into really feeling it all the way. So don't be discouraged if that happens. Sometimes the relief sets in pretty quickly. So just notice how you feel now. And if only a few of the phrases bother you, put a little star next to them and just say those this next time through, right? Kind of refine it for yourself. So this next time through, you can do the setup statement. I'll say something here and you just say whatever you need to say. Even though the list still bothers me, I deeply love and accept myself. Even though the list still bothers me, I deeply love and accept myself. Even though this list still really bothers me, I deeply love and accept myself. And tapping through the other points. Reading through either the remaining phrases, sorry, that's okay. Whether it's through the remaining phrases or the whole list all over again. Just read through your list and tap through the points. Give it some oomph. And you can pause here if you need to keep tapping. Otherwise, you can take a deep breath. Good. So you may need to do this a few times. I want you to look through your list again and notice how you feel now. Notice the impact on your body. And before we transition to the next part, I'd like it to be that the intensity of it bothering you on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most intense, 0 being neutral. I'd like the intensity to be at a 3 at the most. Just notice how it feels now. If it still bothers you, pause here, do a few more rounds of tapping. And you can actually get up between rounds and kind of shake it out. Just shake your body, just kind of as a way of moving things through, okay? So, assuming that it's at a 3 or lower on the intensity level of how much it bothers you, the next step is to go line by line and create turnarounds for each statement. So this is where we're creating specific affirmations that are potent for you, because this is your list of the things you don't like about this topic and the beliefs that you have about this topic that feel limiting or negative or harmful. So go line by line. I'll throw out a few examples that are body and weight centric, okay? So I hate my thighs. I love my thighs. I'm never going to lose this excess weight. I will easily lose this excess weight. I wanted to say maybe because that's something I like to say when I tap, but it's for another time. It will always be a struggle. It's easy and enjoyable for me. Another one. My body betrayed me. My body shows up to support me fully every day. I hate my body. I love my body. No one will love me because of my body. I am so loved unconditionally I'm sure there are other turnarounds, but those are a few examples to get you going. And if there's anything where you're just like, I don't know what to say, I don't know how to turn this one around, I don't know what the positive version of this would be, you can either just leave it out, or you can just stick with something simple, something that connects with your core beliefs, like it's safe for me to love myself, or one of my favorite ones that I listed earlier. Or maybe I didn't. I don't know. I don't think I did, actually. Okay, I'll introduce it now. My all-time favorite, well, top 5 favorite affirmations is from Abraham Hicks. There's so much love here for me. I love it because of the way I feel when I say it, and because to me it's nuanced. It contains inside of it this idea that there's so much love here, right? And that it's available for me, right? There's this quality for me of like almost like opening my eyes up fresh and seeing that there's love. I didn't realize it, but there was love here all along, and it's here for me. So it kind of feels like realizing you're in a candy store when, it's a funny analogy based on my channel. Like you're in a candy store when you thought you were just like alone in a dark room. It's like, no, maybe a better analogy is there's all these people around who love you and you think you're alone in the dark, right? Oh, actually, no, there are all these people around who love me. So you can insert some core affirmations that you just love, that you just want to include if you're having trouble thinking of a turnaround for it. So that's the next step. So this is a similar process that I did with the inner critic. So it's where you write out all your criticisms, right? You tap on that, you tap on the charge there. Then you shift to how would you like to be talking to yourself, right? What are the thoughts you want to practice? This is the same idea here. What are the thoughts that you want to practice? What are the filters you want to have on your experience of yourself and of life? Because we're inherently going to have filters unless you're working towards enlightenment, which if you are, thank you. Sincerely, thank you. And here we are bumbling around with our filters. Might as well have them be filters that help us to show up fully and feel loved and feel powerful and feel peaceful and safe. So that's my opinion. So now that you have your list of the positive things, this is a fun little fine-tuning, fine-tooth comb moment that we do, which is where you read through the list, and I want you to notice if any of the phrases feel uncomfortable or evoke a sense of tightness or something inside of you when you read them. And if so, just mark next to those. So I'll pause here while you read through your list. If you need to have more time, you can pause here. Otherwise, we'll move forward. So if you didn't feel any resistance to any of the ones on that list, you're like, this feels amazing. I feel so good. I love all the things I wrote down. Awesome. You can skip this step. But I recommend watching this part just so that you know about how to work with this if you are having resistance, doubt, rejections of a thought that you actually do want to include in your experience. So this is just, it's still valuable. But you don't have to tap about it if you're feeling groovy about your list. So if you aren't feeling groovy about your list, if it's the list as a whole, this positive list of affirmations or thoughts that you want to start thinking, if you aren't feeling good about it, then we're going to do some tapping on that. So I'm going to say more things here for you to repeat after me on. We'll do that first, and then I want you to test how the list feels, okay? And maybe it's just a few of the phrases, but don't worry about the actual list for this round. We're just going to do some repeat after me. Okay, so Think about how the list bothers you. Feel it in your body. Take a moment to take stock. Notice how strong it is. Maybe it's a 10 and it really bothers you. Maybe it's 2, 3, it doesn't bother you that much. Just kind of notice how it feels. Notice how you know that it bothers you. And you'll start tapping the karate chop point. Even though some or all of my affirmation list bothers me, I deeply love and accept myself. Even though I don't know if I believe this list all the way, I choose to love and accept myself. Even though I feel resistance to this list, I deeply love and accept myself. Now we'll tap through the other points. All my resistance, all these nice things can't be true. All my rejections, all my doubt. I'm not allowed to think positive thoughts. What if it's not safe? If it's not true, I shouldn't think it. All the ways that this list bothers me. All the discomfort I feel in my body when I think about this list of affirmations. It's safe for me to feel how it bothers me. And it's safe for me to release that feeling. Maybe I really am safe. Maybe I really am okay. Maybe it's really okay for me to believe new things. Maybe it's really okay for me to enjoy this list and feel good about this list. And any residue, any parts that still feel bothered by it, maybe I could let those go. It's safe for me to let go of any resistance I have. Good job. You can stop tapping. Take a deep breath. Excuse me. So read through your list again. Notice how it feels now. If it still bothers you, just tap on the karate chop point. Say, even though it still bothers me, I deeply love and accept myself. Say that 3 times. And then read through the parts that bother you. And tap on that a few times. So this is where you could pause this and do that on your own. I'll also say, ding, 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 as a caveat. Or maybe not a caveat, maybe just like as an also. If this list or this process starts to bring up memories for you of times where you feel like you learned the negative beliefs, or examples of where you felt like it really was true that you weren't loved because of your body, or whatever it may be, make a little note of those memories. Because you can do a process with those memories. You can tap on them just as they are. And you can also do a deeper process, which I'll get into probably, I think, in my next call. I think that's what the next call needs to be about. So there's with tapping, I know that there's so much value out of just tapping on kind of what's arising, right? Tapping on the list, tapping on what's here. There's also an incredible potency to doing these deeper processes where you're imagining being your younger self. You're going back to memories. You're going back to made up memories and resolving what's going on there. So that process is not as easy to guide people through because it's a bit more nuanced. It's possible, but it's different. And so I know that sometimes the repeat after me or the kind of standard tapping doesn't really get to the core. And so if you're feeling like that's happening for you, you may want to work with me privately, and you can apply for an intake session, and that will help you to see if there's spots available and all of that. At this point, I do have some spots available. But so that's something where you may want, help of a coach. It's also something where you may just want to learn about this deeper technique, which I've decided now I'm going to do in October. Oh, I love October. It's going to be great. So just be mindful that this process may stir up deeper things, and you can just make a note of it. Know that you'll come back to those memories. That's a list. If lots of memories are coming up, that's a list you could bring to the next call or bring to one of our one-on-ones. Um, so I just wanted to add that. But hopefully, just the tapping on its own that we've been doing here has helped you to release some of the charge of the negative list and any snags that were going on with the positive. And so, assuming that you're at a place where the positive list may feel unfamiliar and a little odd, but it doesn't feel like, oh, it really bothers me. Like, I don't like it. We don't want a strong rejection of it. I want you to feel kind of like maybe it just feels a little uncomfortable, or maybe it feels really good, but that's the zone that I'd like you to be in for this next step. So we've talked about what's great about affirmations, what's not so great about affirmations, how they work, how to create affirmations specific to you and your situation, tapping to release any resistance, any doubt, any rejections that you have of your affirmational list. And the next thing that I want to cover, I'm so excited to cover this, is how, first I'll just explain how tapping makes affirmations more powerful. And then I'm going to teach you another tool to make your affirmations even more potent. And this is an NLP technique, neuro-linguistic programming technique. I love it. I'm very excited. Okay. So first, tapping. The reason that tapping is valuable to use in terms of affirmations and this whole process is because you're getting more of yourself on the same page. That's one way of describing it, right? So the part of you that's like hurting or kind of feeling weird or whatever, that part gets to be included. That part has been tended to, has been validated, has been loved on just by tapping through the points on its own, because you're sending a message to your amygdala, the part of your brain that tells you if you should panic or not. You're sending a message that, hey, we can relax. And so I like to think of it as like you're sending a message that's like a little hug. It's a hug to that part of you that's freaking out. So it helps more of you to be present and calm and receptive and available for the affirmations. So they're not a Band-Aid. It's all of you. It's all of you saying this. And there isn't an internal battling, right? Of, no, this is what we say now. No, but I still believe that. There's not a. It's been a while since I've done a puppet show. I'm sorry. So tapping helps to get more of you on the same page, right? And helps to honor the parts that are not down with the affirmations and get them on your team. Okay, so that's great. Okay, so the next thing that I love, because it helps make affirmations even more potent. Am I ready to get to that yet? God, it's really being suspenseful. Okay, wait, there's two other things that I want to tell you about tapping with affirmations. One is, do you tap while you say your affirmations? You've got this amazing list. Do you tap while you say it? It's really up to you. I'm going to teach you this technique, this NLP technique called anchoring. And it may be that you want to do a combo of tapping and anchoring, or it may be that you just want to anchor. You will get to decide. You get to play with it. One of the more specific to affirmations, or like bringing in a new thought form, one of the specific ways that people tap for that is that they tap around their ear. You just do little tiny little tapping motions around your ear. You can do both at the same time. So some people really love this. I love the way it feels. I love doing this. As you're affirming, I am loved. I love my body. It's easy for me to lose weight. It's easy for me to be really healthy. It's easy for me to notice the things I love about my life. It's easy for me to feel gratitude. Life is easy. Life is good. There's so much love here for me. You can just do it like that, right? one of the things that I think can be valuable about tapping through the other points when you're doing your affirmations is that, one, it's sending that message to your amygdala that we can relax. So if there's any panic or whatever that goes on when you're saying your affirmations, it's just preemptively calming that, right? It's just sending you like, we're good. We can think positive thoughts. We're so safe right now. Let's think all the positive thoughts, right? So I know I'm giving you lots of options. I'm not giving you a clear answer here, but it's because it's kind of varies with each person, you know? And this is a generalized message. So if I was talking to you one-on-one, I'd probably have something specific for you. But this is the human experiment of one. You get to try things out. Yep. Okay. It's time. It's time to talk about anchoring. Okay. I'm going to try to cover this in 10 minutes. There's so much more that I'd like to say about it. I'm just going to try to cover it in 10 minutes. So anchoring is effectively, it's an association. An anchor is when you have a strong emotional, physical, sensory-based association with something. So very common anchors are smells, right? Where it connects us with a memory. Also songs, where it connects us with the feeling, and feeling/memory is really what an anchor is associated with. So something that maybe only slightly has to do with the memory. I have this example of like the soap that they used at my preschool, and we'd like wash our little washcloths and all that in like little homemade basins and whatnot. It was very cute preschool. That soap still to this day evokes this strong memory for me. I feel like I'm in preschool again in my heart, and I feel this like warm, excited feeling, and like the hominess and the sweetness. Like I can feel it now. I don't even remember exactly what the soap smells like, but I can just go there because it's such an anchored state. Another example is a song, right? And I'm sure you've experienced this for better or for worse, that certain songs will really remind you of someone, of a time in your life, maybe even of a specific time when you were listening to that song. And it puts you into that state. Maybe it makes you cry, maybe it makes you smile, but where it really holds a lot of emotional potency and charge and memory. So we can use smells and songs to consciously anchor a feeling state. And I think this is one of the reasons that aromatherapy is getting so much traction these days, because it's effectively anchoring, right? Yes, these smells have certain intrinsic impacts on us because of, here we are, we're humans, we relate with plants and the physical world. So of course, things are going to have specific impacts on us. And we're associating certain states of being with that plant, with that smell. There's an anchor there, right? That's adding to it. I know that that's at least contributing to it. So you can use smells as a way to anchor. You can use songs. I've had one of my favorite fast wave tea practitioners would play a song when we were trying to anchor in a new happy state. She was great. Makayla Vitkovich. And one of the ways of anchoring that I really like is to just use some physical touch. So since your body's always with you, unless you're like, I don't know, not with your body. But pretty much since your body's always with you, you can always do some specific touch thing. So an anchor that I have a lot of clients do for kind of that yummy, loving feeling is to put your hand on your heart. And that's one that you could do for your affirmational practice. You do want it to be something specific that doesn't just happen throughout your day with lots of other situations, because the more that it's an exclusive association of a good feeling state, let's say of feeling loved and happy with a certain touch, let's say, the more specific those two things are, especially the anchor of the song or the whatever, the touch, the stronger that anchor will be. So some other examples of anchors would be like to squeeze your earlobe. Make sure it's the same side every time. Make sure you squeeze it the same, don't do it like this sometimes and this other times. Do it the same way. Make sure it's replicatable, right? Another one that I really like is just to hold one of your fingers, because it's really chill. Like no one can really notice. Because one of the values of anchors is that, let's say you're in a meeting or you're waiting for a blind date to show up and you feel dysregulated, you feel kind of anxious, and you, smart one that you are, you've created an anchor. You've practiced an anchor with your affirmational practice every day of feeling calm and safe and trusting life and feeling lovable and worthy and whatnot. See, it's so anchored in. This is just me with my habit of putting my hand on my heart. So you've got that anchor. Every time, let's say you squeeze your finger when you think about that. So that's tied in. So you could be tweaking a little, be a little dysregulated. And if you've built an anchor up enough, you can just do the trigger, right? The song, the smell, the touch. And you'll start to feel that feeling, whatever the feeling is that you've associated with that anchor. The feeling will start to creep in and you'll feel a little bit better. You'll feel regulated. You'll feel whatever it is. And if you don't, that's just a sign that you haven't practiced the anchor enough and built it up enough. And that's okay. These can take time. So the way that I like to encourage people to use anchors in their affirmation practice is to either use the feeling state that is evoked by reading your affirmations. If you feel really good and really alive and amazing after reading your affirmations, after saying your affirmations, use that feeling state as your anchor, and you can anchor it in with whatever touch feels good to you. Or maybe it's a smell, maybe it's like lavender that you like roll on or just smell every time you really feel that. That can be harder to replicate, so I don't recommend smells. Or not hard to replicate, just hard to have on hand. You know, also like carry a little stone in your pocket. I could go on and on with examples. And you could touch the stone every time you feel that way. I digress. So you could use the feeling state that's evoked from your affirmational practice and anchor that in, right? Take a few deep breaths. When the feeling that you want to anchor in is at its peak, that's when you want to do the anchor. Breathe it in, really feel it. And if there's another feeling that doesn't totally, like let's say your affirmational list doesn't really make you feel amazing yet, this is where anchors can actually help your affirmational list to feel better sooner. So you can think about either a happy memory of something that really happened, or like a made up happy place or visualization of somewhere in nature, or maybe it's like a meditative state, just some happy place that really evokes a good feeling for you in your body and your mind. And really take your time getting into that feeling state. And once it feels really strong for you, do your anchor, touch your heart, hold your finger, whatever it is. Feel it, breathe it in. And notice the specifics about it. If there's a smell, if there's a certain visual, if there's temperature, sounds that you think about, just notice the specific qualities of it. And then, if you're trying to share that feeling with your affirmational practice, it could be that you bookend your affirmational practice with that anchor. So you, before you read through your list and tap it in or whatever you're doing with your affirmation, you take a moment to connect with that feeling and anchor it however you're anchoring it. And then do your list, do your affirmation, and then do it again at the end. And what's cool is that you're going to start to any good feeling that's getting built up with the affirmations is going to be added to that anchor. And that's going to make your affirmations even more potent, because when you feel good in your body, it's a really cool feedback loop that's telling you that it's safe to feel this way. It's safe to think these thoughts, and it gets some momentum. And ideally, with all these affirmations, with all these parts, we want to build momentum. We want it to be that it's easy to think these thoughts, that the habit is there, that it's just happening. It's amazing, to realize how things have shifted, even personally. For me, it's like, it used to be that I'd see my reflection and I just noticed the things that I thought needed to be different. And I did some affirmational work around how I feel about my reflection. And now I literally unintentionally, like just totally out of habit, out of subconscious, I'll see myself, my reflection, and I go, looking good. Or, wow, you're beautiful. Or, oh God, so fun to see you. So it really is possible to shift the internal narrative. And I really feel like with the added tool, when you're not just relying on affirmations alone, but if you add some other tool to attend to any pain that's arising, like tapping, and then add the tool of anchoring to heighten the joy, to heighten the good feeling, that's going to make your affirmational practice and this overall shift of how you're talking to yourself, how you're thinking about life, how you are experiencing life, can make that shift that much faster and that much more comprehensive. So I hope that's our 10. I hope that that this was valuable for you. If you have any questions, please email me, reach out. You can comment below this video. But I'm here, and I would strongly encourage you to really take some time with this process. And if you want help, if you feel like, you know what, I really need support around this, please reach out. I have an application for an intro session, and you can fill that out on my website. I'll put a link below, and we can do a one-on-one conversation where we can get to some of the core issues that are going on for you, and we can talk about what it would look like if we were to work together and how to take you from where you are to where you want to be. So I'm here. I support you. Thank you so much for watching, and I really look forward to the next call in October. Okay. Thank you so much. Many blessings. Take care.